my goodness, every time I drop my kids off in this pickup line, God just starts talking to me, and he just starts showing me things. And this really ties in with the message that I got at church yesterday. But they have a whole system for the drop off and pickup line. And let me explain to y'all the way that the system at this school works. So when you first come in, they have you go into the parking lot on the opposite side of where you're dropping your kids off at. And then they have cones out, and you separate into two lines, and they have one person telling you which cone to go to. They have another person telling you when you can go, when you can stop. They have police officers letting you in and out of the parking lot and all of that, whatever. And then as you drop your kids off, they have cones with numbers on it, and then they'll talk in the walkie-talkie and say, hey, this kid is going to be at this cone. That's the way that they do it. And it's really organized. But anyway, so yesterday at church, our pastor was speaking about belief systems and how our life is ran off of belief systems, whether we realize it or not. You would not do something unless you're at gunpoint. And even some people, even at gunpoint, wouldn't do it. But you would not do something that you do not believe is correct for you to be doing. You would not do something that you do not believe would be beneficial to you or would go along with your belief system. So he talks about how, first you get information, and then with that information, if you retain it and you repeat it to people, now it's knowledge. Just because you have knowledge, it doesn't mean you're going to actually apply it. So when you start to apply that knowledge into your life, it's now a belief. But then when you start to make actions and say things that actually go along with that belief, now that is the actions that you're taking. That's now your belief system. So if one little thing is off in your belief system, then instead of going this way, your belief system's going to start going this way. And he explained how there's multiple different belief systems in your life. The way that you believe certain things should go, it's like multiple different things, and they all are supposed to be going the same way. Because if only one is going the opposite way, that throws your whole system off. And that is just like with this drop-off line at school. There was one lady whose job was to put the cones out to separate the lines. She did not do that. So when we got there, everybody was in one line. So then when she comes out to separate the lines, people wound up making 3 lines instead of 2, because there was the one line that was in the middle that wasn't supposed to be in the middle. Then she put the cones where they were supposed to go, so people started going on this side, but then they were about to bump into everybody in the middle, so then people started a line on the opposite side. So now there's 3 lines instead of 2 because one person was off. We wound up getting it together. I wound up noticing that people started to slowly maneuver where they were supposed to go, but the whole system was off because one thing was wrong. And so God is urging me to just think about, in my life, where am I not believing that he can do it? Where am I not believing everything that I say I believe? Because right now there are certain things in my life that are not going according to God's plan. And the only reason why it wouldn't be going according to God's plan is if my belief in some area of my life is off. And I really had to take a step back yesterday and realize that my not necessarily that my life, but that certain things that I was placing importance in were not very important. Certain people that I was placing importance in were not very important. And although I do not idolize anyone, I was spending too much time trying to make sure that certain things and certain people were okay. Because at the end of the day, all it took was for one conversation from anybody to make that person view me in a different light, and to make that person completely shut down and shut off from the system that we already had. And that just kind of showed me how I was not placing the importance in the areas I needed to place it in, because if I was, then one person falling off would not have had me in shambles. One person having a skewed view of me, which I know is not even proper, would not have bothered me, but it bothered me. I know that God has pulled me through so many things. My testimony is real. I wrote a whole book about my testimony. I have been through a lot in my life. But I overcame everything that I've been through, and if it wasn't for God's grace, I wouldn't even be here talking to y'all today. So with that being said, there's not one human that could change that. There's not one human that could change what God has ordained for my life. And I was slipping. I didn't even realize I was slipping. I've always been the type that loved people, loved being around people. But for the past 2 years since I gave my life to God, I haven't really been around people besides at networking events in church. So if I ever allow someone close to me, especially close to my kids, it's because I trust them. And my trust is not to be played with. And my discernment is not to be played with. So I realized that although I felt like God was at the forefront of everything, there was a few areas of my life that I did not communicate with God enough in. And that is a hiccup that I will not make again. And really dropping my kids off at school today really just showed me that, because as I was watching this system that typically works like fluidly, not work fluidly today because one person didn't put the cones out, it just reminded me of yesterday and of my life, and how when one thing is off, it'll throw everything off. So just make sure that you're on point in every area of your life. I pray this message touched somebody or blessed somebody, because it really touched me. God bless you.